Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben and this is the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. You can probably hear I've still got my good friend the flu. He hasn't left me yet. I've still got this deep husky voice. I'm going to have to just share that with you for the next hour or so. And speaking of which, this is a huge episode. It's actually going to be a little bit more than an hour. In a big week for barbecue in Australia, we've had 4 competitions. There's been the Angus Reserve comp down in Albury. There has been the SCA comp in Q Club. There's been Gloucester and there's been Ipswich. And I've managed to get people from 3 out of those 4 comps to talk to me on the show, which has been an absolute blast of a time I've had this week having these phone calls. And I'm really excited to be able to share them with you. And as Meatloaf said, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Before we get into it, I just want to remind you about the Smoking Hot Confessions community on Facebook. It's a group we've got going there. We've got newbies, we've got experienced people. Anything that you want to talk about barbecue related, that's the place. We've got daily posts that trigger conversations as well as just the regular banter back and forth that goes on between members. It's a really great place. It's all inclusive. Everyone's welcome. So swing by and have a look. It's the Smoking Hot Confessions community on Facebook. Kicking off today, we're talking to Chris from Grillers in the Mist, who picked up GC in Albury at the Angus Reserve competition. Top bloke, and he was actually talking to me from Gloucester. So he took time out of his competition to talk to me about a previous competition. So it was really good of him to give me that time, and I'm really thankful for it. Next up, we got Justin from, well, where's he not from? The guy's doing everything at the moment. From JG Barbecue, from Smokeface Gorillas. He went in on his own to the Q Club and he took out the golden ticket for the steak. And once you hear that story, I tell you what, it's pretty good. And then rounding out the episode, we got Grant from, I was about to say Manning Valley, but that's not Manning Valley anymore. It's Angus Reserve Barbecue Crew. And I found out that story behind that name change in this phone call. So grab yourself a juicy ribeye, grab yourself a cold drink, and let's get stuck into it.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Hello.
G'day, Chris.
Yes.
It's Ben from Smoking Hot Confessions here, mate. How's your afternoon?
Oh, just finished, mate, a little while ago. Not too bad.
Oh, last hand in for Gloucester done and dusted?
No, that was just the SCA today. They had a double steak cook-off. So,
rightio.
So, yeah, just had that and the hand-ins tomorrow for the main competition.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm getting myself confused with Ipswich. So how was the SCA?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, no, Gareth did a pretty good job, actually. His 2 steaks went in. They looked pretty bloody good, actually. So there's a fairly strong crew around here, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I reckon the game would have been pretty tough against a lot of the teams down there today.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of them things, really. You can follow all the rules and cook it the correct way and get all the temperatures right, but hopefully when you slice it open, it's perfect inside. So
yeah,
that's the only problem you can't see beforehand.
No, that is a bit of a challenge to it all, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, it went really well, actually, pretty smooth.
So what cooker do you use to do your steaks on?
We use the GMGs, the Green Mountain Grills, and so that's basically what we just solely Green Mountain Grills. We got about 5 of them, and we just do a reverse sear on the steak that way.
Oh wow!
And then we can heat the grill grates up in them to 600 Fahrenheit and sear them off that way.
Right. So GMGs, they're all pellets, yeah?
All pellet grills, yeah. So they got 3 different sizes, and the big commercial one, but we just use the 3 different versions, and it's enough for us. Like we did 40 kilos of meat down at Albury in 2 of them, so that's not too bad.
And I guess that answers the old question. Then yes, you can get a pellet grill hot enough to sear a steak.
They get to 550 Fahrenheit.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Yeah, and we get the grill grates. Yeah, they get about $6.50, I think, the grill grates. So when they're in the machine warmed up.
Very nice. That's what you're after. So, mate, tell me about the Angus competition. Congratulations on your grand champion.
Oh, that was phenomenal. Yeah. It was that was a win we won't forget in a long time. But it was a really good event actually. I got to hand it to the Angus members down there. It was a real professional, well-run event, and everybody was really inquisitive. So it was great. All the members were coming over, asking questions, and we're happy to show them what to do. And the amount of food was phenomenal. So I think we broke them. The last lot of meat, there was a fair bit left. I think we filled them all up. So
they were all tapping out by the end of the day.
Oh, they were. But the beef was fantastic supplied. Like, it was some serious quality meat we were cooking with. So we did the tri-tips. I think they gave us 4 tri-tips, and we had 2 briskets plus 5s. And then we had 12 beef cheeks we had to do, and 2 full strip loins. So
wow, that is a lot of meat.
Yeah, we roughly worked it out about 40 kilos, I reckon we cooked. So.
And there was 10 teams, so that's 400 kilos of meat being turned out.
Yeah, there wasn't a massive amount left, but the strip loin, I think, fixed them. They couldn't get through all that, so that was the last one that went in, and yeah, there was probably half of that left. But so once they sort of had their fill of all the others, I think the meat combers come in.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me how you like to do your tri-tips.
Well, we'd never cooked a tri-tip before, so, and I think a few people down there are in the same boat, so we didn't even practice one, but we had a bit of a research and look at it, and there's probably 2 ways, most people do it the same thing, reverse sear sort of thing, cook it that way, but the tri-tip tends to come out a little bit chewy. When you get it to that medium to rare, and it just has that little bit of tug in the meat when you're eating it. The flavour's phenomenal, but it's that mouthfeel that we were sort of worried about, because we had a little bit of a test with some offcuts beforehand. So we thought we'd do it a little bit different, and we would do the second version of where we cooked it a little bit like a brisket. So we, on smoke for a period of time, and then we boated it, and it developed its own smoke ring. It wasn't that rare look, but it was well cooked, and it was as moist and tender as a brisket. It was absolutely quite nice, and I think we made a mistake by handing it in first. We were first off the cab off the rank, and we finished 6th in that one, but we were very happy with the cook anyway. But if we were to do it again, we'd do it the same way, I think. Just hand it in a bit later after someone's had some chewy textured ones. But it came out really well, and I suggest people do have a crack at doing it like a brisket, because it takes the chewiness out of the tri-tip.
Sounds good, mate. I love the sound of that. So just on that topic of when to hand in, where do you guys usually try and fall in the hand in window?
I sort of like to be in that towards the middle, towards the end, that sort of area. If you I don't know, if you go in first, people forget you, you know what I mean? When there's so many different meats coming through, you sort of get a little bit lost in the whole scheme of things. So we back our cooking, and so we think our best opportunities in around that middle to last hand-in stage.
So give them an opportunity to try some lesser well-done cuts.
Well, that's it. If you can get a good standout one and good flavour, they're going to compare it definitely. But I suppose if you're first off the bat, they've got nothing to compare it with. So where do they lay their scores? Do they go, well, we've not given them so much because we're waiting for, we don't know where the others are going to land, or so I think you roll the dice every time you hand it into the judges, though, basically. It depends on everybody's different palates.
Well, yeah, exactly. And having been on the judges' side of the tables a couple of times, I can tell you that, you know, it can be like a couple of minutes well and truly into the hand-in window before the last tables even got their first box. So you could be handing in around the halfway mark thinking you're going to be maybe the third or fourth box on a table, and you might still end up being the first box on a table anyway. So it's all luck of the draw.
I think it is, and you know that's you can't get too disheartened when you with your judgings and things like that, because people do have different flavours, but you've got to sort of use your cooking to please everybody. You know, some people don't like chili, some people don't like sweet. You know, we always have a laugh and a giggle with other teams about minting lamb. I can't stand the stuff, but it seems to go all right. You know what I mean? But you might get someone there that doesn't like mint. So we do ours a very, very flavourful, but a very neutral flavour too, so you can still taste the meat.
You know, that's a very interesting point, because that was almost a semi-rural kind of competition, wasn't it? It was definitely a regional competition. So did you sort of scale down your flavour profiles a little bit to suit those regional judges? No, we didn't do anything different at all, actually. It's just I think that's our style of cooking. And, you know, most of the judges too are punters, and they remember what they eat at home. So I think sometimes this overpowering of flavours and stuff can work in a disadvantage towards you as well. So I love my food. I'm happy to eat what I like, you know, and if the tastes are nice, well then if I was the judge, I'd score it that way. That's the way I think of it anyway. Yeah, very interesting approach there.
It seems to have worked for us, so...
Yeah. So how was the competition overall? What was the atmosphere like? What was the venue like?
Oh, the venue was very well done, actually. Very well set up. They had everybody in the middle. Jess Bryles doing her demonstrations on stage, and they spent a fair bit of coin prettying the place up, which was good. It really did look very professional, and it was quite interesting, like you're saying, about the country folk and stuff. Like a lot of the older fellas and that were coming over, and the meats, and we're handing in, you know, medium steaks and things like that, and they're going, oh, I love my steak well done, I don't like blood in it and stuff. And yeah, so you do get a different sort of taste with some of the older farmers, but everybody was extremely interested. It was a good interactive event, you know what I mean? We weren't just there to cook for a competition. We were there to interact with the crowd and showcase the Angus meat. And, you know, our GMGs attracted a bit of attention, which was great. And, you know, we're pretty lucky we got that sponsorship and the Oak Ridge sponsorship. They're a great rub company, and they've won plenty of awards around the world, so we're pretty lucky with our flavour profiles.
Yeah, they are very good. So how did the traditional farmers react to the modern technology of the GMGs?
Surprisingly enough, a few of them had them and were looking at them. But I think they also, once they understood how they worked, the simplicity of it, where you don't have to watch over them, you know, you don't have to keep stoking the fire, you don't have to keep adjusting the air vents. The machine just does it itself. You set the temperature, away you go. You just got to work on your times and your textures and your different ways you cook the different meat. So they are an ease to us when it's a fast-paced thing in this barbecue comp, because we're not having to worry about that particular item. It just chugs along.
Interesting. Yeah, sounds like they were open to the new ways of doing things.
Well, that's the thing at home, you know, if you're cooking a brisket, you know, 7 or 8 hours, you don't have to stand over the fire. You can actually go and socialise and mix with your friends that you invited over to eat it. So that's why we like it.
Yeah, my friends, whenever they come around, we all end up standing around the fireplace anyway, so...
Yeah, but yeah, these things you know the machine's just going to tick along at that temperature, and you don't have to worry about adjusting anything. It does it all for you.
Yeah, good stuff. So how's your competition season been so far this year?
Not too bad. We, as you know, we won the Angus one. We're in a bunch of great barbecue teams, which we were stoked about. We've been finishing up in that top 5, top 10 sort of thing, which is pretty good. So we've got broke in 2 weeks, which is going to be exciting. 60 odd teams up there.
That's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a great event. It was good last year. I think it's going to be twice as big this year. So he's got it well organised, but it's going to be highly contested. There's some big prize money in hand, and hopefully we can do pretty well in it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. And you've got plans for the rest of the year as well after that?
There's a couple of trips to Queensland.
Ooh, excellent. Which ones in Queensland are you coming up to?
The Brisbane one's the first one, I think, in June. So that's going to be quite a big one. I think Gareth's going to try one of the KCBS ones as well. I think that might be the KCBS one, isn't it?
It is. That's the Barbecue and Beer Roadshow,
yeah. So he's going to try that one out. I unfortunately can't go up there with him, but I've got work commitments. But so he's going to try a couple of Brisbane ones, and we'll just sort of plan it from there. Probably the Dam Hotel, the Invitational. See how we go.
Interesting. So then how does this win at Angus this week, how does that set you up for the rest of the year?
There's no points on that one. It was a ABA Lite because there was only 10 teams. You've got to have 20 to points. Unfortunately, that would have been 100 points for us, but we'll just have to try and get those points at other comps. But, we're poking along all right in the points department at the moment. We've just got to put a third one together to get on the board, and hopefully we'll be up there in the top 10.
Very nice, mate. I got my fingers crossed for you. So just on that topic of the ABA Lite, I haven't been to one yet, so I don't know. I haven't experienced it myself. So what sort of feelings do you have about the ABA Lites?
Oh, look, an event like that was just a great experience. You know, you probably wouldn't. We probably wouldn't do too many lights, but something like that, you know, it's a massive organisation. We're sponsored by Angus Reserve anyway. It's a great meet, so we were very, very happy that we were privileged enough to be invited. I think from what they're talking, it's going to be an every year thing. So I'd be more than happy to go down there and just show our wares and show the meats wares and show people how it's done, because this type of cooking's growing fairly rapidly in Australia.
Oh, so fast.
Yeah, it's I suppose when you look at it, you know, population percentages, we've actually got a bigger competition than over in America.
Yeah, in terms of comps per capita, yeah. Yeah. So, and look, we've got some bloody good teams in this field. It's always hard to get up the top. You've really got to work at it. So we put a lot of practice into it. Yeah, well, we've got teams in Australia here now that are travelling over to the Royal, travelling over to Memphis in May, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, the Manning boys did very well over there, or Angus Reserve boys did very well over there, and second place in brisket, which is pretty huge actually to get a second place in a big comp over in America.
Yeah, that was mind blowing. That was the comp that I was competing in as well over there, the Houston World's Barbecue Championships. That was something else.
that was a big notch in their belt, that one.
Absolutely, yeah. So do you think that it's fair to say with the pared back format of the ABA Lights that it's better suited to corporate events, trade shows, that kind of thing, where the focus is more on the industry than on the competition?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But there's over 440 teams registered or something at the moment, isn't there? So, it's you've got to be quick to get in and get a spot, and you can start seeing these competitions are now starting to grow. Like I think the one in Queensland is going to be 74 teams. Broke's going to be over 60. We dropped out Port Macquarie, which was over 100, but I really can see things like Broke and stuff like that getting well over 100 teams in the next year or so.
Bundaberg in regional Queensland there last weekend had something like 52.
I know, that's just crazy, isn't it? Like it's a long drive, and it's to get 50 teams up there. It's fantastic.
It's just amazing, yeah, absolutely incredible.
But, that's the downside of Australia, mate. We're so spread out.
We are, mate. We are.
And that's the thing. You got to pick it and which ones you want to do and blend it in with work. I suppose it would be great if you could make a profession out.
That would be the dream, wouldn't it?
Mm.
It does get a bit tricky too, as you were saying, with these comps filling up so fast. You've got to be able to juggle your work schedule with the comp schedule and plan everything like at least 6 months out in advance.
Oh, and that's right. You know, and there's a lot of teams that got young families and stuff like that. Me and Gareth are pretty lucky. Our kids have moved on. Gareth's daughter's old enough now too, so you know we can sort of trip away every now and then. But it does cut into your time. You know, we've done 11 or 12 comps in a year, and it is very time consuming. Yeah,
no doubt. Listen, man, speaking of time, I realise that you are busy. You are at a competition right now as we speak, so I'm going to say thanks very much. Thanks for coming onto the show. Congratulations on your win at the Angus Comp, and best of luck this weekend in Gloucester.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
This is David Ong, and you're listening to Smokin' Hot Confession.
Yo.
Hey, Justin. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. How you going?
Yeah, good. What you been up to?
Okay. Oh, nothing much. Not much lately. Just, barbecuing here and there and spend time with the family.
I was going to say nothing much. I know that's not quite true.
Yeah, I like to keep busy, I guess.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on board the show tonight for a quick chat. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to sort of try and quickly ask you about.
Sure.
Speaking of a man in barbecue who wears many hats, I saw that you are a co-owner of Barbecue Supplies Melbourne. Tell us about that.
Well, Barbecue Supplies Melbourne, that goes back a little while, actually. Jai and I formed that together. We basically started, when we first started out, we ended up picking up a sponsorship with Firebrand. And that was after we won a couple of trophies at our first ABA comp from memory, which was pretty cool. And part of that sponsorship, we were obviously getting Firebrand sent down to us, and they were trying to break into the market at the time. So, we basically set up this little business, Jai and I, and started to actually distribute through Victoria. And, that's how that sort of came about, and a couple of little bits and pieces in there. And then, things obviously change over time, and we all move on from things. And, we haven't really actually tattled with Barbecue Supplies Melbourne for quite a while.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Interesting. So are there any sort of plans on the drawing board to sort of bring that back at any stage, or you're over that idea?
I'll probably leave it open for now. You never know what the future holds. But there's a few other hats that obviously I wear and Jai wears as well. So trying to find time to balance everything together with, family and barbecue and side businesses and work as well. But it's always a constant juggle.
I hear that, man. I hear that.
Yeah.
So I guess one of those other hats then's got to be JG Barbecue. Yeah,
that's obviously a big part of my life and my family's life. Started that probably 2.5 years ago. Obviously invented the offset plate, which you've obviously seen around. That was just I've been using, obviously like most other people, when you first start off on a classic Weber kettle. And the way I was using it at the time was having a Weber basket to the side, wrapping the lower section in foil, and cook all that for a little while, but noticed too much direct heat coming from the basket. So I looked around the house and found an old terracotta pot plant base and hit that with an axe, broke it in half, and lent 2 half moons up against the basket, and I cooked like that for about a year. And I was like, one day I was like, I can do better than this. And I started thinking about airflow and how to better prevent cold air from obviously touching the meat, forcing the air through the hot coals, so nothing but hot air touches the meat. And obviously I ended up designing the offset plate for a few tests, and it had so many more benefits than what I could have ever dreamed of, acting as the heat sink, increasing fuel efficiency, lid recovery times are insane. There's, a whole bunch of positives in using it. So I never actually pushed the product myself at first. I just sort of I wanted to see how it would be accepted, and through friends and some family as well using some. And just, word of mouth, it just grew into what it is today. And it's just getting bigger.
Yeah, it's funny that you tell that story about starting with a kettle and just running around finding what you can find and hitting it with an axe. For me, it was garden pavers. I hit a bunch of garden pavers with an old mallet, and I broke one of them in about half, and I found that 1.5 pretty much covered that whole width. But I didn't quite go as far out as you as blocking out all the rest of the airflow. So definitely like your idea much better.
Yeah, that just makes it a lot easier to top up as well if you're doing a really long cook. Just if you've got one of those hinge grates.
Yep.
I designed it so that where the charcoal is, it's exactly where the hinge is. So you can actually just open it up, drop in more if you need to. But look, generally you should be able to get, depending on what you're cooking with, like heat beads, briquettes. I've had reports of 13 hours cooking at a low temp. Most commonly around anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. So
wow.
You should be able to cook most things in that time. Yeah.
And so is that starting with a minion method, or is that fully lighting the briquettes in a chimney and just tipping them in and then dialing it down?
Well, it's interesting. Some people call it the minion. Some people call it similar to the snake. It's basically, obviously, you're banking the coals with the design. You can still fit a Weber basket down there if you need to, if you're worried about protecting the enamel. I've never had an issue, haven't had any reports of that. But the whole idea is, put in a whole bunch of unlit briquettes, and then at one end, remove or leave space for about 6 briquettes to go fully lit. And that way, what happens is it burns completely from one side all the way across the other. If you put it in the middle, it's going to try to burn across both sides. So you're actually going to reduce the amount of cook time that you could potentially gain, whereas if you burn it from one end to the other.
Right, interesting. So it's like a kind of a hybrid then between the minion and the snake.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Ah, very cool, very cool. I think I first heard of JG plates when I heard people starting to talk about using them with a Go Anywhere. I think you kind of helped pioneer this current Weber Go Anywhere craze we're in Australia.
Yeah, there's a huge craze. Obviously with our offset plates for the GAs, Kyle in South Australia with his risers, everyone's going nuts for those as well at the moment.
Yeah, that's the other one I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, like GAs are really popping up everywhere at the moment. It's great to see.
Yeah. So is that much the same deal then? Is it the same sort of principle?
It's the whole design that I have is, that principle of reducing the amount of cold air that touches the meat, basically trying to force as much airflow through those coals to get to hot air touching it. So it actually also speeds up the cook a little bit. And that sort of incorporates that area where it's just a lot quicker. You can add moisture as well just by putting in a little water pan. I could have designed it differently, I guess, with a welded-in steel base plate all out of stainless, but then that's going to drive the end-user cost up, and I really didn't want to do that. So we'll keep that low for the sake of, a $5 pan from Safeway or Kmart or wherever. Just stick that in there, put some water in there, half full, and you got more than enough moisture through a cook. I mean, the fact that you can I've cooked 8 kilo briskets in there using the offset plate. Now haven't had to rotate that at all, and it just cooks it all the way through. It's, awesome.
So did you say 8 kilo?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest I've done, about 8.2, I think it was. I can't remember what brand it was now. But yeah, I've cooked quite a few, 7.5 kilos, but 8 kilos is probably the biggest I've cooked. And, just obviously monitor throughout the cook. When I first did it, I was thinking, you may have to move it around, but didn't have to touch it at all. Only thing you have to do was lift the lid to give it a little spritz here and there. But because it's actually that whole surface area is really consistent, even temperature, it just rockets along through.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the idea of an 8 kilo brisket going in a go anywhere. Did you?
Oh, not in the go anywhere.
Ah.
No, in the standard, the 22 kettle.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you were talking about the go anywhere, and my mind was blown.
No, I've seen people obviously do whole chooks in there, and even Michael from Butcher's Axe, he actually did he did a lamb shoulder while he was on the road. He actually took it with him in his car. I'm not sure if he had a tray, ute or something, but he took it with him and actually cooked it over the day in his GA with an offset plate, which is pretty cool.
Interesting. I'm not sure that it's particularly road safe to be cooking a chicken in the back of a ute whilst driving down the highway. But if anyone's going to do it, it'd be him.
Yeah. When you got a barbecue, man.
Well, yeah, I guess you got to scratch that itch.
That's it.
Yeah. Now, I was talking to Jai last week about all the goals that you've been hitting with SFG this year, but you've struck out on your own this week, and you took out the golden ticket and first place at the SCA at Q Club.
Yeah, I certainly did. That was a whole lot of fun. Branching out. Look, SFG, we used to compete in some of the SCA cooks, and Jai would do pretty much all the steak cooks, and he can cook a mean steak. Like we'll get like 3 in a row in the top 5. Is nailing it. And then one of the comps, Horsham, which you might remember last year, the year before, I can't remember now. We had that terrible weather come through, and we didn't have any marquee sides, and we were planning on using a deep fryer, and the rain was coming in sideways. And there was no way between you and me that I was going to use a deep fryer with the rain coming in. So we ended up actually going to local shops and just getting some plain audio crumb cheese, and we wrapped some prosciutto around it. The care factor that was put into it just wasn't enough. So after that comp, we sort of decided, hey, let's stop focusing on doing SCA as well and just run with the main event. And that kind of probably helped us as well achieve the goals that we have achieved like last year. But then late last year at Creekside, I thought, why not? I might give it a go myself, because I wanted to see how I could cook up against the likes of Craig and Dane and Steve, and there's a lot of great quality steak cooks out there. And that was my first actual comp in SCA cooking the steak, and I got a golden ticket on my first cook, so that was pretty exciting.
Golden ticket on your first run out of the gate.
Yeah, it blew my mind as well. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, what was that feeling like when you heard your name called out?
Oh, insane. Just looked over to my wife, Beck, who was there working with the Q Club at the time, and she came running over, gave me a big hug, and it's surreal. Like, the feeling is absolutely surreal. But, so at that point I was like, well, I guess I can cook a steak, and kind of got the itch, I guess, to keep going here and there if I could, without obviously affecting the team at comps. And, James has given me a hand sometimes. Jai's kicked in. Sometimes Chris has helped as well, the last one, with some of the ancillaries. But this one at the Q Club on the weekend was just me solo, just plotting along. It was real weird, actually. I actually felt pretty in control, doing dishes while the steak's on, cooking away. And I don't know, it was pretty good. The as you know what the barbecue community is like, the support's great. The amount of people that come over like, you okay? You need a hand. I was like, no, just plotting along, doing my thing. And it was a great day. I mean, these kind of events are awesome for catching up with, friends that you don't see all the time, people coming over from South Australia and elsewhere as well. So it's nice to just kick back and catch up with everyone.
Well, there was a hell of a draw card there this year. It was a $9,000 first prize, total prize purse.
Yeah, massive. Like, first time ancillaries have had $1,000 for the winner, so it's pretty huge. Another first.
I did actually notice that before as well, that the steak was $1,000 and then first prize for ancillary was like $300.
Oh, generally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always wondered sort of what the incentive was aside from just it allowed you to be a bit creative and have a bit of fun. But I think if Q Club's going to set that bar right up there and say, right, it's going to be $1,000 across the board, I think that's really going to drive a lot more interest in the ancillary categories.
Definitely. I mean, for me personally, like steak is obviously the key thing. That's the hero of what we're all there for. The ancillaries are kind of like an added bonus. But you put that kind of prize money up for grabs, it spurs on the brain to really kick in and start thinking about a few different creative ideas and really try and chase those dollars.
Yeah. So, mate, speaking of all those creative ideas, then tell me about your hand-ins for this competition.
Yeah. So, my wife actually, she was like, "Oh, do you mind if can I come up with the idea for the one bite?" So I was like, "Sure, go for it." Because at the time, I want to worry about steak, and she did a few practice cooks at home, and she came up with it was basically deep fried chicken on waffle with bacon and a maple syrup butter inside with maple syrup drizzled over the top.
Oh my God!
Yeah, look, it tasted amazing, but execution on the day. The appearance wasn't quite there. I mean, some of the other stuff that I saw was absolutely phenomenal. Like the level of cooks that are entering this now and the effort that everyone's putting in is insane. So, yeah, I think the appearance probably hurt us a bit there, but the feedback we got was that, it tasted really good. But that's all right. It's what it is, Can't kick all the goals.
No. So when you're doing something like that, do you cook it big and then trim it down to get into one bite, or do you cook it as one bite?
So the chicken itself was thigh, and then it was broken down into small bite-sized pieces, and then put through a flour mixture and what else was there? Something else as well. And we actually had the power drop out just before the hand-in. And I think everyone decided to turn on the deep fries at the same time.
Blew the transformer or something.
Yeah. So that made it really interesting because Beckett actually pre-made some waffles the night before, and I took the toaster just to put in the toaster to heat up. So I needed the deep fryer, then the toaster, and I didn't have the opportunity. So I ended up just throwing the little waffle pieces actually into the deep fryer as well. So that may have worked against us as well, but you got to do what you got to do to get it done.
Yeah. Wow, that would have been very interesting. So what about the other ancillary?
Yeah, chili. So chili con carne was the other one.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I love my spicy food, so I was more than happy to do that. And it's great, like to be able to, like my chili ended up cooking, which everyone else did as well. It was like 5 hours. Some people maybe a little bit longer. So you're just constantly developing those flavors, adding a little bit to it, constantly tasting it. And it's actually a really easy category to cook while doing other hand-ins because it's just on the pot, just slowly cooking. And when it comes time to plating up, it was relatively easier than what some of the other ones are. Although in saying that, seeing some of the other hand-ins from people were amazing. What's Your Beef did a fully crusted like ball deep fried, which was just phenomenal. What else is this? Yeah, there's some amazing things.
A deep fried ball of chili.
Yeah, so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they rolled it perhaps in like crushed Doritos and some other stuff as well. And it was just these perfectly formed balls that had been deep fried. And I was lucky enough to try one, and they were awesome.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, yeah, the level of hand-ins like now is just insane. The quality is phenomenal.
Yeah. All right, so then the big money hand-in, mate. Tell us about your steak.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny. I actually changed the flavour profile from like the last one at Creekside to something completely different. And I hadn't actually cooked, leading up to this comp, I hadn't cooked a steak for about 2 months. I'd just been too busy, didn't have a chance to actually do any practice cooks. And when it came time to grabbing all the rubs, getting ready, I was saying to Beck, what was that other rub that I put with this one last time? Because I cannot remember. So I ended up grabbing what I thought it was, and I just like tried the two obviously together, and yeah, no, it tastes good in the mouth, so I'll run with that. And so that was interesting. And I actually just finished testing size-wise for one of our offset plates for the Smoky Joe. So over the past few times, I've used a Weber GA with an offset plate for the reverse. I reverse sear my steaks.
Okay.
So I use the GA with an offset plate for the reverse, and then I use my Jumbo Joe with the grill grates for the sear. And I just finished this Smoky Joe offset plate, which kind of gives me a fair bit more surface area to place the steaks. So I hadn't actually tested cooking with it yet, but I thought, why not? Let's just run with that. So I took that along, and first break-in, first steak, winner. So pretty happy with that.
Wow! And so, did you put the grill grates on the Smoky Joe, or did you go back to the what was it, the Jumbo Joe? You said.
Yeah, so I reversed it on the Smoky Joe. Yep. Using Heat Beads lump on that with their new cherry chunks as well, and then on the Jumbo Joe, I use the coconut blue briquettes, put that underneath. I've got all worked out now to get it the right temp for what I'm after. Yep. I'm normally around between 600 to 650 Fahrenheit for the grill grates for the sear for me. And that was it. That's, 2 little barbecues. That's all you need.
Wow. So you went in there with no practice. You went in there with a bunch of rubs that you couldn't quite remember if you had used them before. On a barbecue that you hadn't used before, with a product that was still in untested prototype stage, and you've walked away with a ticket to the States.
Well, when you say it like that, it sounds pretty damn crazy, doesn't it?
It's awesome, man. It's such a good story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, a bit of fun. But, the whole day was fun. So that was, the first steak hand-in, and obviously the second one, because it was a double header, that one, I treated that slightly different. So the steaks that we had from, I believe it was Vintage Beef Co. I actually really liked them. They were really nice. They were an older cattle, so normally they have 30 months. These were 60 months, so a bit more beefier. So the first steak I did, I actually backed off one of the rubs just to see. Well, I thought I'd do one that was backed off, and in the second cook, I actually did my normal sort of level of coating. The second hand-in, I ended up finishing 12th, so just out of the top 10. Unfortunately, but that's okay. I can certainly live with that after getting the first place ticket on the first one.
Yeah.
So, it was just a fun day, really fun day. I mean, Q Club put on an awesome event. Everything ran smooth. They can't help power dropping out when everyone turns on the deep fryer.
No.
Other than that, I mean, the other thing was, they had the last hand-in, a half an hour later pretty much was call-outs, which, as a competitor, you'd know as well. Sometimes you just really want to get the call-outs done so that you can then go pack up, and obviously you're curious to find out how the hell you went.
Yeah.
So, they ran it well. Trot from SEA obviously worked damn hard to make that happen as well. So it was good collaboration between the two.
Yeah, very cool. So what does this mean for the rest of the year for you then? Because I know that you're going to, is it the Royal with SFG? And,
correct.
And now you got your ticket to the World Food Championships. The World Steak.
The Houston,
Sorry.
SCA Championship.
Yeah, that's what I mean, sorry.
All good.
So where does that leave you? Are you going to go to both? I believe you can put off a golden ticket 1 year, can't you? So if you don't go this year, you can go next year?
Yes, you can defer, and I do love my wife very much. So to try to go to the Royal and Houston the same year, I don't think I'd have a house to come home to, or the locks to be changed.
Yeah.
So no, we're definitely focusing on the Royal for later this year. Try obviously explain it to you in your earlier conversation with him.
Yep.
We're mixing up a few things in the forthcoming comps just to get ourselves prepared for America, which is going to be awesome. But as far as the actual SCA Championship goes, I'll definitely be deferring that to next year. I'm not sure whether you can defer it for 1 year or 2 years, but we'll see how we go. But it won't be this year, unfortunately.
Mate, I love Houston. I've been there a couple of times now. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as a city, the city as a whole is fun. Like just the overall atmosphere of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Awesome. Can't wait to get over there.
Yeah. So I guess then that the last thing I just wanted to quickly talk to you about was Dipper's Backyard Barbecue Wars.
Oh, yeah, that as well. Yep.
You're a bona fide TV barbecue celebrity now.
Just a humble barbecuer. Look, it's as Boomer says, well, it was a lot of work to get to where it is now. A lot of work from everyone involved. From that little pilot that to a lot of people looked, a little bit scrappy, but that was the whole idea, was to get that concept across. And then obviously a year later after that, we did another pilot, which was a lot more refined and a much better quality. And that went out to the studios, and we were lucky enough to get 7 Mate to pick us up. To punch it all out in a week was exceptional, and it was long days. It was, it wasn't always easy, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. Hopefully it comes across on TV. The 4 of us just had an absolute blast. You may not get all the banter on the TV show, but there was plenty of it backstage. Don't worry about that.
I can imagine.
It's been received really well. The feedback's been great. And as you now know, season 2 has been given the green light. So we are talking about that already, and we'll get that happening for, I believe, next year.
Mate, I reckon it really says something for the state of the scene at the moment that a barbecue TV show has managed to get a second season. Now, that sounds like a kind of backhanded thing to say, but we've seen them try and do it before, and they've got one season and it's died. So the fact that you guys have been able to get a second season, I think that really says a lot for the wider society's appreciation of the barbecue scene as a whole. And I think you guys have done a lot to pioneer that. And so, hats off to you guys. Congratulations to you guys on that.
Oh, cheers. I mean, look, Channel 7 were a little bit skeptic and a bit cautious at first. I was with the last show, and look, they're the real pioneers. They really kicked it off, and they would have, yes, it may not have gone to a second season, but that original show would have spurred interest in a lot of Australians.
Planted a lot of seeds.
I think it really did. As you know, you tell one person or feed somebody one of your slices of brisket, that information spreads, and like, wow, have you tried this? And before you know it, you've got 10 other friends saying, oh, can you do a cook-up for us this weekend? So I think just planting those little seeds everywhere has helped the whole scene grow. I mean, take a commercial company like Bunnings, for example. Whole scene's changing, and it's awesome, A, to be a part of, and B, to see and to watch your friends and even family start to get involved. It's really cool. I mean, education's a big side of it. That's probably one of the biggest things us boys on the TV show we're trying to get across to a lot of Australians that are used to just doing your snags, your burgers, your chops on the barbie, that you can do so much more. Like, even if you've got, a gas barbecue, you can still do a lot more. You can still reverse sear a steak on it, but introducing them to charcoal and flavour. And a lot of people that I speak to about, I try to get them across to doing barbecue and low and slow and charcoal. A lot of them say, I haven't got time to light charcoal and get it ready and cook stuff on. Oh, well, products now like the Heapies chimney booster, that has charcoal ready in 8-10 minutes. You can fire it up in no time and be cooking your snags if you want, but at least it's going to taste better over charcoal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's on par with how long it takes to get a gas grill hot now.
Yeah, spot on.
So good. So, mate, I'm going to put you on the spot then with this last question. As a bit of a steak guru now, you've managed to, as we said before, do no practice, come in with unused products and unused cookers and all sorts of stuff and take out a golden ticket. Where do you stand on steaks being handed in open beef categories?
It's expected. Like, I'd be crazy not to say you're not going to not see it, because it's opening the floodgates to all forms of beef. That's the whole idea. I understand why they're trying to do it. Broaden the horizon, see something different. I guess I'm a bit more of a traditionalist. I'd rather go brisket slices and burn ends every day of the week. we've never, but sometimes we've had cooks where the flat may not be where we want it to be, and the burnt ends have been amazing. And the back of your head, you know that you put those flat slices in, it's going to pull down your score. So you know that if you leave them out, you're going to get a better score. But we've never been able to bring ourselves to do that. For us, I guess traditionalists would rather we want to put in slices and burnt ends every time.
So you're going to go the whole hog and do a whole brisket, even in an open beef category?
Yep. We may try. It's tough because you don't want to be left behind in the scene either.
No.
So if it progresses forward and this is happening more and more and more, and those different cuts are going to start getting call-ups, well, you got to be smart. You got to change the way you play to keep up with the game. So we're not, naive enough to say, no, we're always going to do that. If that comes to it, then we will make alterations to suit.
Yeah, I think it's going to lead to quite an interesting sort of new age in the next, later in this season and into next season as well. I think we're going to see quite a few new creative directions happening, which is going to be quite intriguing to see, to say the least. Yeah,
it is going to be very interesting to see. And some people say it's easy to cook a steak. It's a lot harder to cook a brisket, and that is true. But what do you do? Somebody's cooking a good steak, well, maybe you just go, as John mentioned, get a Sure Wagyu blue steak and roll the dice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Traditionally, I'd rather cook brisket every day of the week.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Me personally. So which comp are you going to be at next? When are we going to see you?
Mate, my next engagement is up in Townsville. I'm heading up there to do a bit of emceeing up there, and then I'm booked solid a lot through June, July, and August. There's a it's an outside possibility at this stage of heading overseas to go do the SHC media thing at a competition overseas.
Oh, beautiful!
Yeah, so we've got lots of big things coming up, lots of big things happening. Exciting.
Busy man as well. I like it.
Yeah, mate. We've all got our hustles.
That's it. Got to keep the barbecue going.
Yeah. Look, mate, I'm going to say thanks very much for your time. Thanks for being a part of the show. I do realise that it is a school night, so I do appreciate that you've taken some time out of your busy day to have a quick chat with me. And I'm sure everyone else out there appreciates it as well, mate.
Thank you very much for having me on, mate. I really appreciate it. And great chatting with you.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
G'day, Ben.
G'day, Grant. How you doing?
Good, thanks, mate.
How you been?
Good, really good. And yourself?
Yeah. Tops, mate, tops. Bit crook. Got a bit of the flu, but, getting there.
Yeah, it's getting around everywhere, that one.
Yeah, it's nasty too. Woo.
It is. Yeah, no. How's the States, all right?
Oh, the States, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, It was really good. Spent 4 weeks over there. Went through Louisiana, up into Memphis, Kansas City, and down into Arkansas. So it was a good trip.
No, it would have been great.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, very good.
I was actually going to ask you the same question because you went to Houston again.
Yep, definitely went to Houston and had a great time. And for the second experience, it was very good.
Yeah. So what was it? Much the same as the year before? Was there much different?
Yeah, pretty well the same. Probably this year, the difference this year is probably that you knew a lot more people from over there from the previous years, and had a bit of time with the Ninja, as you've seen, and but no, pretty well basically the same.
Oh, awesome. And were the crowds as big?
Yeah, if not bigger.
Wow.
That's one amazing thing. It's just like, as I say, it's just like a state of origin on steroids. It's just amazing how many people that just come through there for a barbecue or a party.
Yeah. Well, the year that I was over there with you, the biggest crowd was on the Saturday night was 125,000 people was what I heard.
Yeah, I haven't actually had a look up this year and seen how many there was, but definitely trying to get through the crowd and get to presentation, and they actually had a front area up for all the international teams right at the front of the stage.
Oh, nice.
So you were fenced off a little bit, and to get there was just like every other, last year. It was just so hard. But yeah, no, it was amazing.
So you needed a Rolling Stones type security cadre to like kick all the crowd out of the way so you could pass through.
It was a bit like that. We had the Brazilians with us, so they were pretty noisy and vocal. They got us through.
Oh, that would have been awesome having a Brazilian team there.
Yeah, they were crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, no. So, but no, it was really good.
Oh, fantastic. Well, mate, one of the things I want to ask you is the team name change.
Yep.
So is this a second team? Are you going to be manning in some competitions and Angus in the other? Is it a whole new team, or is it just a rebrand, or what's happening?
It's a whole rebrand. So the Angus Reserve comes from the company I work for, so they've come on board as a major sponsor. So one of the main things was that they wanted to the name had to be to do with the product, which is our Angus Reserve product, and they wanted in that the naming to be so it could be a part of that, which many valleys are part of a grass-fed program we have, but really from the low and slow and the barbecue scene, it was the Angus Reserve. And so I threw up a few names to them, and this is one of the ones that they come back with, and we all liked it. So they come on board, and a whole new breeding's taken place.
Nice. So it's Angus Reserve Barbecue Team, is that right?
Angus Reserve Barbecue Crew.
Sorry, I was close.
That's all right.
And so the whole trailer's all been redone and everything?
Trailer's all redone, new marquees, new apparel, everything. Yeah, so, they've done a great job in fitting us out in, the whole outfit.
Oh, very cool. And so how does the Angus, I mean, obviously you like the product, you're cooking with it, you're sponsored with them, but tell us a bit about their beef.
So the Angus Reserve, NH Foods has an Angus Reserve product from 150-day right through to a long-fed program. It's under the verified Black Angus program of Angus Australia. And as you know, we've cooked the beef, for 2 or 3 years now, and took it to the States with us the last 2 years. Definitely over in the States, I think it's a flavour profile. That's actually why the brisket does so well over there, especially in the Texan area. I think it's what it's been fed on, wheat and barley and that kind of thing, and just our flavour and texture that's done so well. Yeah.
I had a couple of slices of that one you cooked there in Houston there 2 years ago. That was some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, this year with Jeff and the boys that actually won first place in brisket in Houston with our Angus brisket. I tasted our brisket and I thought our brisket was okay. I didn't think it was as good as the year before, but then I walked down to the boys' tent, which is only a couple hundred yards away from us, and they said, "I'll have a try this. This is the one we put in. It's yours." And as soon as I tried it, it was just so much like the year before. And I said to Ash, "These blokes are going to go all right, and bugging me dead. They win the grand champion of brisket."
Mate, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that you not only have been competing as Angus and using Angus product, but you actually organised like a conference or something, didn't you?
No, so what happened was Angus Australia decided they had their yearly conference, and their yearly conference being 100 years of Angus was going to be at Albury this year and in the last couple of weeks, and last week actually. And mid through last year, I think we were at up at Bangalow Comp, and one of the Angus Reserve people come over and see me and said, "Oh, how could we run a comp like this, similar to this, at our conference?" And I said, "Oh, I thought it was a weekend." And they said, "Oh, no, it's going to be a Wednesday." I said, "Oh, well, if you want to have a comp during the week, we have to do it as a light series and an invitational to get people to be able to, not be working and come to this kind of event." So, the months went on, and they come back to me and asked me would I put a proposal up. So I did that. I put a proposal up to them how I believe a competition would work during the week. They accepted that proposal. We give them a group of 15, 20 names of teams, and everything that them teams have done, they come back and said, we'd like to go with these 10 teams. What do you think? So that's what we did. And and the end product, all the product that was cooked, so the 4 companies that are under the Verified Black Angus program for Angus Australia, they actually were allocated a cut of meat that they had to supply all the teams. So every team cooked the same cut from the same product. So, NH Foods, Angus Reserve had the brisket, Ranges Valley had the cheeks, and Jacks Creek had the strip loins, and 3 Creek had the tri-tips. So every team got portions of meat, and we cooked it under a new light series, which I think is a great concept for companies to run these kind of events. And so we'd run it at Albury. It was a 1-day event, which was a fairly big day, starting at 5 o'clock in the morning and then presentation at 8 o'clock that night. Woo. And it was run in the park at Albury there, and it went very well. Very, very well, and was the quality of the product was pretty amazing. And everyone was keen to cook, the cheeks, the tri-tips, briskets, and everything in one. Everyone cooked the same thing. So it ended up a very, very close competition, and Grillers in the Mist ended up taking the night out.
Yeah. I reckon that's a great concept, having the having all the teams cooking with the same meat, and it must have been fascinating for them too to have each hand in each protein for each hand in from a different supplier. So then they'd be able to look at Ranges Valley and look at Angus Reserve and all that sort of stuff and get a feel for the exposure of the different brands as well.
It was, and it really, a lot of blokes hadn't cooked too many cheeks or too many tri-tips, or even thought about, here I get given 2 strip loins. What am I going to do with 2 strip loins? Am I going to just, one steak? Am I going to put it in the smoker as a whole? Am I going to cut it, grill it? And so there was that many different options. Like Lucas had a strip loin on a little spit, Lucas Chain on a little spit going around, and that's the one they actually handed in. The one that we handed in, we actually had in the smoker as a whole piece and cut them, about an inch thick, and then just re-rubbed the surfaces and actually took out first place in the steak. So it's quite interesting, little bit different concept to the SCA we had. It was all open, so there was a lot of different ways they got cooked.
Yeah. I heard that there was asado grills and as you said, the rotisseries, and then all your traditional smokers as well. Must have been fascinating.
It was, and it was in a little tight, little knit area. They had it like in a bit of a U shape, and had the stage in front of it, and we were lucky enough to Angus Australia brought Jess Prowles over as the MC, and so it was a real little amphitheatre. It was a very good concept.
Yeah, beautiful. So where do you see Aussie beef as a general concept going in the future as a brand?
Aussie beef, I think it has look, at the end of the day, on the export market, a lot of Aussie beef goes all across the world. The hardest market to probably get beef into, not good beef into, because American have so much good quality beef, and the volume they have is amazing volume. It's probably 7 times amount a week than what we do in Australia. And, there's going to be niche markets that's going to get into the American market, like our briskets and things like that. But, you're competing on the quality over there is so good. So you're only going to have that niche market into that barbecue scene, that kind of thing. But, there's a lot of other programs in the American market. Your HGP-free programs are grass-fed, which is growing year on year on. So, it is a tough market to get into. But, for sure there's going to be companies that's going to get their product in, and you're going to start seeing it in that market.
Mate, I can't wait to see that Aussie beef taking the world by storm.
Yeah, well, 70% of our production now across Australia goes in, across all parts of the world. So, you can go to all different parts of the world. You see all this Angus beef that's getting produced in Australia, everywhere, Europe, Asia, China. It's everywhere, and you get all these comments come back. They see all the different brands, and so it's great that it's all happening.
Yeah, for sure. Have you heard of an Aussie brand called A9?
Yeah, I think the A9's the AACO. I think, it gets it's probably one of the more dominant brand over there in the barbecue scene at the moment, I think.
Yeah, when I was in Louisiana, the competitors that I was meeting over there, they were saying, "Oh, you're an Aussie, so you must cook A9." I was like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think a lot of that product actually goes all exports. You don't see too much of it around.
No, I don't think I've seen it before I was there.
No, and I think, the most of the brands you see in Australia around the scenes that we're at is, your Rangers and Black Onyx and, the Angus Reserve and, things like Cape Grim and things like that.
Yeah, yep. So you're a busy man. So that was during the week. That was the conference, trade show and competition during the week. And then you headed up to Gloucester. How was Gloucester?
Yeah, travelled back home on Thursday and back to Gloucester Friday night. And look, Gloucester's a great little comp. 13 teams there. Dion had a few teams pull out the last moment. It's actually in the pub grounds. You're split up in two areas, one out in the grass and one in the car park. And they've got the little motel there, so everyone stays there. So it's a really neat comp, very good comp. So, it was a bit of a quick trip back. I think out of the 13 teams, I think there was eight teams actually travelled back from Albury straight to Gloucester.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And that's quite a drive too.
It is. It took me, it was 12 hours for us from the time we got home back to Wingham from Albury, time we stopped and done a few things. So, yeah, it's a long drive.
Oh, wow.
But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, I have heard really good things about that comp. Like it's always positive feedback every year about the Gloucester comp.
Yeah, it is. And, everyone's so close. And, this year we had lucky enough, we had 2 rounds of the SCA state competition there as well on the Saturday. And that went off quite well. I think he had, I think there's about 19 actually nominated for that. And the stakes were, pretty amazing. And the quality, I was lucky enough to be in the judging side of that this year. And it was pretty amazing, the stakes that are going through there. Yeah,
I do love a good ribeye. The creativity that comes through on the SCA for the ancillaries is just off the charts as well.
It is. Yeah, no, definitely. I think couple of weeks' time, Smoke and Broke's on, and I had a look what they've got on their SCA, and they've got steak and margaritas and tacos and hot dogs. So yeah, it's going to be pretty amazing, that one too.
Those margaritas are going to be fantastic. Did you see the shots of the Bloody Mary category from the Q Club there a few months ago?
I did, and they were amazing.
That was crazy.
A lot of time and effort, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, but you guys actually, you guys pulled off RGC there.
RGC we did, yeah. Full throttle, took out first place, GC again. They're on fire, Mick and the boys, Mick and Paulie.
Yeah, they're on a roll, yeah.
They are definitely on a roll, and it's good to see, they've probably been in for a couple of years now, 18 months, 2 years, and great bunch of blokes. Yeah, and they're well deserved. And it was, if any team to beat you, it's them fellas that you don't mind. And but since we come back from the States, changed a few things, and we've actually gone quite well. And picked up RGC. It was a little bit surprising. There's some good teams there. Our cook went quite well. A couple of things that we didn't have that we missed out from taking, mainly because of down at Albury being all beef and not putting the thinking cap on to make sure we've got everything straight away to cover us as well. But, it was a great result.
So tell me about your hand-ins. What did you do for the different hand-ins?
So hand-ins, we had chicken, which we always do our normal chicken, which is chicken thighs. And we always do bone-in thighs.
Do you do cupcakes or pillows?
No, pillows.
Okay, yeah.
Always stick to the pillows. Seen that. I always think they work better. And then we done pork ribs. Normal pork ribs. Actually, we done very well in our pork ribs. I think we got beaten to count back in first place in pork ribs. So, they cook very nice. So, some pork ribs.
Yep. And are you baby backs or St. Louis?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, St. Louis. Yeah. And then the other category was lamb. We done ribs and lamb ribs and cutlets, which you normally do there.
Yep.
And then on pork, we done pulled pork and a bit of money mussel as well, sliced up.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Yeah, and then for beef, we cooked brisket, of course. Had to cook a brisket. It was open beef, but we decided to stick to our brisket. We had a good brisket and done brisket burn ends, and I actually cooked an oyster blade. First time I've actually cooked one. We had a Angus Reserve, probably about a Marble 7 oyster blade, and cooked it the same style as brisket. And from the smaller end, got 6 really nice slices out of that. So we had a very full box, and I think we ended up coming fourth in open beef, which, and our texture scores and presentation was very good. So, but they did eat really good, the oyster blade. It was very nice.
Yeah, very cool. So this open beef category is a bit sort of controversial at the moment. There's been a couple of people with their noses out of joint with steaks being handed in against their briskets. Where do you stand on the whole open beef category?
Yeah, it's a hard one. Look, Ben, I actually took a tenderloin over. I had a Angus tenderloin that was very well marbled, and I hummed and hard to cook it. And Ash and myself and Steve thought about it long and hard, and we thought, well, from a judge's point of view, I know it's open beef, but majority of these people are around barbecue most of the time. And I said, I'm surely, God, we can get one of these cuts, our brisket or our oyster blade or burn ends, to be really good as a steak. And actually 3 of them, the whole 3 cuts come out perfect. That's why we put the hole in the box. Knowing that Aussie Pit Boys were doing a tomahawk, and I think they took second place with a tomahawk steak against you. From a point low and slow, I'm not a fan of it. Myself, I don't think, the technique and the real, the real challenge in the low and slow, I believe, is to get a brisket on, to make a brisket really nice, moist texture. That's the challenge. And putting a steak in against an open steak, I think it's wrong. But that's the rules. That's what promoters want to put up. That's fine. So at the end of the day, you've got to cook what you think that can get to that judge and not offend any judge and get the best marks.
Got to play the game as it's written.
Exactly right.
And so what's coming up for you for the rest of the year?
So a couple of weeks' time, we'll go to Broke, Smoking Broke, which is a comp that we went last year. Actually got GC. Great comp out there, Broke, that Rob and Randy run. Can get fairly cold out there in the open plains, but it was amazing comp last year, so we're definitely back there. Then heading up to Brisbane on the late June to do the beer and barbecue.
Oh, you're going to come and do the KCBS comp up here?
Do that one as well, because when we go to America this year, we done Shotgun Fred, which is KCBS as well. So definitely go up and do that one as well.
There was a competition called Shotgun Fred.
Shotgun Fred, yeah. That's what it was called.
What were you cooking, squirrels and raccoons?
No. It was the typical KCBS. So it was a very, very good comp, actually. So, and, that's where Darren Worth and all them fellas were at. So, there was only like 35 teams there, but it was a real close-knit team like that. We do have a comps in Australia. So, it was really good to get to know the blokes and share some time with them, folks. That was great.
Yeah, very cool.
And then, we've got Brisbane, Kingaroy, Bacon Fest, of course, the Dam, and then probably we'll try to do the new Hope Winery one. And then, and then the Invitational.
Okay, yeah. So if you're going to do the KCBS one here in Brisbane, are you going to come do KCBS in Burleigh?
Oh, I'm actually away while that's on. And then the boys, we're not going to do that one. So we only be going to do the one for the year.
Oh, that's a shame, because if you're going to do that one in Burleigh, then it's only one more, and you're eligible for Team of the Year. Yeah,
I know, but it's unfortunate. I'm actually going on an annual leave holiday after Broke for 3 weeks. So I'll get back on the Thursday night before the KCBS in Brisbane. So it'll be hectic enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. I've known you for a couple of years now. It's the first time I've heard you say that you're taking a holiday.
Yes, heading to Greece, so can't wait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, can't wait.
Very cool. Ouzo and barbecued octopus.
Yeah, tools down and time to relax.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, look, mate, thanks very much for your time. Congratulations on your RGC and best of luck for the year coming up.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for your support over the years, mate. Thank you very much.
And there you have it, family. That's a wrap. 3 top chats with 3 of the best in the game at this time. In a huge week in barbecue for Australia, 4 competitions in a week. For us, that is just massive. I'm super excited about the state of the game and what's coming up in the future. I really can't wait. Before we do wrap this up, I want to just remind you about our merch shop. We've got some killer stuff in there, the Hail Mary t-shirts, the kettle caps, the stickers, the tumblers. Head on over there and check it out. Some of the best looking gear going around, if I do say so myself. Thank you once again to all the people who came on the show and shared their knowledge with us, and thank you for listening. And until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.